Hey folks, it's starting to get a little bit cooler here in New England, and I've started to make the transition from saltwater fishing back to freshwater. Haven't completely switched over. It's only the start of October, but I can see the fall coming and the saltwater bite will slow down a little bit. So what I wanted to do is just do a quick update on some of the mods I've done to my perception sound. I've basically spent the whole summer on my Hobie Passport 10.5, which I'll do a review about shortly, and I love that boat, but it's a little bit big for some of the smaller ponds and freshwater fishing that I do, especially on the shorter trips. So changes I've made since I did my first posting on the mods: I added a Scotty fish finder mount here, the base here. I took off the bungee cord that goes over the storage center tray, and basically had this cheap thing laying around, and I used stronghold latch tape to hold that in place. I can't remember, I think this was a hole for, this was for the rod holder strap, and you know what you would normally do is you'd put the rod horizontally. I really didn't like that, so what I wound up doing was taking out the bungee, drilling a hole with a saw. This isn't even a bungee, it's just some paracord I had laying around, putting that loop in there. And what I do, here, let me get my paddle, is I basically just put my keeper on here like that, and I took the bungee for the paddle holder. I drilled 2 holes on the top of here, took this piece which was originally there, mounted it here, and now I have a paddle holder on this side. Okay, the next thing I did here in the front, I'll explain that in a second, is I just took a piece of wood, drilled through this hole into the wood, and I attached my son's old, really cheap iPhone phone holder with a clamp like that, so I can put my phone right in there, and I don't have to worry about it flopping around. I don't know if you remember from the first video, I had a problem with the using the cup holder here because I have an additional seat that I normally put on the back because I don't like this seat. What I did is just took this meant to be flush mount cup holder and screwed it through this tray here. It needs to be tweaked a little bit, it's kind of flopping around and stuff like that, but it does a trick, especially when you have a bottle of water or whatever in there. Now this thing, it's like, what the heck is this? Since I use this kayak pretty much in the colder time of year, and it's a sit side, what I would notice is that my feet would get really cold, my heels would get really cold, because there's, this is basically in contact, the hull is in contact with the cold water. So I took a yoga mat, one of our yoga mats, don't tell my wife, cut it to size and basically put double-sided carpet tape on the back. And when it gets colder, I just tape that in there, and my feet stay much, much warmer, and it's kind of comfortable on top. Now, in the back, what I did is basically added a removable kayak crate, like so. I didn't want to permanently mount it in. I don't know where we had this. Again, it was laying around the house. It was it's a half size kayak crate, which looks kind of small, but it actually works out okay, because what I can do is throw my freshwater tackle back in there. You can stand it vertically if you want, like that, and store drinks there. It gives you some space in the back for fish bags if you want. And let me show you what why I put this tray up front rather than just using a flat panel, is that You get the ability to take out all your lures, etc., stuff like that, and stand them vertically, and they're not flopping around. Without it, I'm sure if you have one of these, what you'll wind up doing is just kind of going like that and stacking everything on top. The bungee holds it in place, and then you have to kind of lift up the bungee and pick out your stuff. Contraption over here, like, what the hell is that? These just random pieces of plastic I had laying around. What I found when I was using this in the spring was that when I had my anchor on my anchor trolley and I would lift it back on the boat, I would be throwing it back here, throwing it here, it'd be flopping around. Sometimes it'd slide all the way back. So what I thought is, let's just get a place where I could rest my anchor on top of that. And it worked out surprisingly well. And here, and here's what it looks like with the fish finder in the base. Basically point right at you. The transducer arm being on the side like this means that I don't need to extend it as far. And when you mount on one of these little rectangular sections in the console here, which are almost a perfect fit for the Scotty base, what happens is, because you have to extend it so far here to reach the water, that it kind of gets in the way. This setup right here doesn't take in any water because it's on the top of the boat, and it gets really low from the water line.